Hello everybody, this is Howard the Teaserking, freshly back from Vegas. Just finished my bowl video. Now this is the college playoff video. I'm going to get pretty intense and in depth here. Two games going. Let's get into it. Michigan State, Alabama. Alabama laying 9.5. I've seen 10s at many casinos. Again, I was just in Vegas. I just got home. Alabama 9.5 over Michigan. So we can tease it and get 15.5, or we can tease it down to 3.5. Let's look at Alabama. Who'd they lose to? Ole Miss. They also lost to Texas A&M when they had Manziel, who we see sucks in the pros. All he does is run around. Let's look at the matchup. What's the weakness of Alabama? A good quarterback who can pass. A good passing attack. Because Alabama is the Pittsburgh Steelers of the 70s. They focus on stopping the run. And they run the ball on offense. Can Michigan State take advantage of this? Connor Cook, 100%. Very strong receivers. Great coach. I think better than Saban. I think Saban runs a system. His players never do anything in the pros. You got D'Antonio, who's now got like 3 quarterbacks who are nothing in the NFL who are starting. Kirk Cousins at Washington looked like a superstar. Hoyer at Houston, he's okay, he's average. But Connor Cook's better than all of them. You got a first-round draft choice in Connor Cook. I don't care. If these teams are stupid enough not to take him in the first round, this is why the NFL is so bad and their quarterbacks are so bad for half these teams. I mean, even Tom Brady was a fluke. He was a 7th-round pick. They couldn't even spot his talent. Hell, Michigan couldn't spot his talent when they were there. So everybody says, look how good these GMs are. GMs suck. Half of them don't have a clue what they're doing. They just go by Mel Kiper or some of these idiots on ESPN. So Alabama's weak point is a good passing quarterback. What does Michigan State have? A first-round draft pick quarterback. He's like 34-3. He lost to Ohio State and Oregon last year, and a fluke bad call against Nebraska this year. What does Alabama do on offense? They run Henry. Do they throw the ball? Not really their strong suit. What does Michigan State do really well? Stop the run. You cannot run on Michigan State. They take the run away. They also have everybody back. Now, the problem with Michigan State this year, their secondary was injured and they had to play freshmen. That's why they lost to Nebraska. They had 2 freshmen out there. They didn't even know how to spot the ball when it was coming. Well, their other guys are back now. The other thing that bothered them was their offensive line. They're All-Americans. Jack Allen and the other guy, Jack Conklin, they were injured. They hurt their legs, their ankles, a lot of injuries on the offensive line. They couldn't really run the ball. But guess what they did? They won every game but the Nebraska game, which they should have won anyway. They have that something, that thing, They got a great coach. He's the best coach. He's up there with Urban. But guess what? When he played Urban with a backup quarterback, who won the game? D'Antonio. Who stopped Elliott to 50 yards running? D'Antonio. Barrett couldn't run in the game. They only got 150 yards offense. Okay, it was raining. Big deal. Ohio State didn't throw the ball enough. Why? It was raining? I mean, come on. Totally outcoached Urban Meyer. You outcoach Urban Meyer, wow, in Ohio State. You beat Iowa with I think has a better defense than Alabama when you just look at it, because they have an All-American corner and an All-American safety. It was very hard to throw on Iowa. You won't have that problem with Alabama. Alabama is based on the name. Their secondary, I don't think, is good. They haven't played good passing quarterbacks. Look at LSU yesterday. That guy sucks, their quarterback. Georgia, no passing quarterback. Ole Miss, good quarterback. They lost. They beat them. Arkansas has a decent quarterback. I'll give them credit. They beat them. Mississippi State, Dak Prescott. So he's more of a runner. He's a shaky quarterback. They killed him. They didn't really play a Connor Cook quarterback. Well, we'll give him. Kelly's nephew was, he was pretty good. He had his moments. And guess who beat him? Ole Miss, throwing the ball, which is what MSU is going to do. So Alabama's going to run the ball into a brick wall. Henry, like Elliott, they held Ezekiel Elliott to 50 yards. What did Ezekiel Elliott do to Alabama? 200 on Oregon. He plays Michigan State, 50 yards. 150 total yards for Ohio State against Michigan State. Okay, it was raining, I get it, but other games they're playing the rain, and they just shut them out. And they won, and they ran it down Ohio State's throat. And you can't tell me Alabama's defense is much better than Ohio State's, if at all, because Ohio State has better secondary. And you can't tell me Alabama's defense is so much better than Iowa's. And they pounded it down their throat. A 50-play drive at the end of the game to win it. Michigan State will be able to run on Alabama, but they're going to be able to throw on them. And Cook throws on anybody. And Cook is very talented. He hits the receivers. Let's look at this matchup, Michigan State and Michigan. Michigan has a top 5 defense, All-American cornerback. Also Peppers, who's not an All-American. He should be. He's the best player on the field. Michigan, great defense, top 5 defense. Michigan was favored by 7 there. What happened? Michigan State couldn't really run it down their throat because the offensive line was still hurt, and their secondary still had freshmen in it. What was the score? 23-21 when Michigan choked and couldn't punt the ball, and we saw the punt in. Take the punt away. Michigan wins 23-21. Michigan State scored 21 points on that defense, which had shut out 5 teams in a row. Now, granted, Vegas, Oregon State didn't have the greatest offense. BYU had a great offense, or a very good offense. Look what they did to Utah. Utah had a great defense, and they were down 35-0 and lost 35-28. So Michigan had a top 5 defense, and look what happened. So they lost 23-21, let's say. Forget the punt. They scored 21 on them. So let's really look at the game. You got State. You can pump them up to 15.5. They scored 21 on Michigan with a top 5 defense. Alabama's defense can't be like 20 points better than Michigan's defense. Not this year. Not Harbaugh's defense. So they'll be able to score 21. You knock 9.5 up to 15. It's now 21-15. You got 36 points. You honestly think Alabama's going to score 37 points on Michigan State's defense? If you've watched Michigan State for the last 2 or 3 years, not a chance. Not a chance. They scored 20 on them. Michigan State's going to just take Henry out of it. That's what Dan Antonio does. He won't be able to run the ball. Their defensive line, Michigan State, All-American Calhoun, another strong excuse me while I die and talking here. Their defensive line will dominate Alabama's offensive line. Henry will not be able to score, forcing them to throw the ball. They don't throw the ball well. Michigan State scored on Iowa, 17, I think, or 18, 19. Scored on 21 on Michigan if we take the punt away, which was blocked. But don't think they won't do that against Alabama. A punt return, a pick 6, a fumble, they scoop up and score. That's what Michigan State does. Michigan State wins this game straight. Bet the money line. I got the money line. I got 380. So 100 pays me 380. I bet Michigan State to win the title. I got 8-1 odds. 100 gives me 800. They beat Alabama, then they beat whoever wins Oklahoma, Clemson. I get 800 back from that. Michigan State is the best team in this playoff. And they have a perfect matchup here. Everybody's talking about Alabama having a great matchup. They're out of their mind. Whoever says that doesn't know anything about analyzing matchups, analyzing games, anything. They're clueless because the matchup is Michigan State's run defense will shut down Henry like they shut down Ezekiel Elliott and they shut down Iowa. Neither team who has really good running could run on him. All of a sudden, Henry's better than Ezekiel Elliott? Really? Come on. All right, Alabama pounds the ball. I give you that. But not against Michigan State. They're not going to. And they're going to have a hard time stopping Cook. And Michigan State's got all their linemen back. So they're going to be able to run the ball at Alabama. They will not get caught up. I'm listening to an interview last night, and what do they say? They interviewed Antonio. He says, we're not the dog. And he's going in with the mindset of, we're not the dog. This guy is a great motivator and one of the best coaches I've seen. He should be in the NFL. I get it. He wants to stay at Michigan State. This is what you look for when you bet. You look for a coach like this. You look for them when they're the dog. Michigan State on the road since 2013 is 16-2. Michigan State as a dog since 2013 is 8-0, winning at Ohio State twice. Well, yeah, twice or once, and then winning in the playoff in the division game against Ohio State 2 years ago when Ohio State played Michigan State. Michigan State went to the Rose Bowl. As the dog, they beat Ohio State. As the dog, they beat Stanford. I think they were favored over Baylor. Didn't matter. They still came back. They're never out of it. They were down 20-some to Baylor, and they win the game. So what it tells you is they believe they can win. They are not intimidated by Alabama. They will run it down their throats, and they will stop Henry. They will make the quarterback beat them, which he can't do. Alabama will not be able to stop Cook. They'll get pressure on him, but Cook's very good. He's seen it from Iowa. He's seen it from Ohio State. He saw it from Michigan. He'll score. I mean, he didn't even play against Ohio State this year. They won with the backup, who couldn't, I'm better than the backup. But when he played, he'll put up 20 points. I mean, that's the thing. He's going to put up 20 points at least, maybe more, and you're getting 15s to 35. There's no way Alabama puts up 35. Would they beat Florida? They scored 29-15 against Florida. Against Tennessee, it was 19-15. I don't remember the score on the LSU game. But they're not going to score a lot on Michigan State. You get 15.5, 16. I noticed I'm going up to 10. I'm just sitting there laughing like, okay. I told everybody I had conversations with, bet Michigan State, take the 15. I'd see people in Michigan State sweatshirts. I'd go, they're going to win the game straight out. Bet the money line. Bet them to win the title. And I recommend that also. Bet them to win the title. You get 8-1. That's the best 8-1 bet you could bet. Money line on the game at 380. That was at Caesars. Or was that William Hill, I think? I think it was William Hill. Well, no, I bet, yeah. Caesars had 380. William Hill had 8-1. I think Caesars only had 6-1 on it. But definitely bet the money line here. You have a very good chance of Michigan State winning this game. You got to take off the rose-colored Alabama glasses thinking they're the greatest thing since sliced bread, or that Nick Saban beats all his assistants. I don't know who he beat. I think that's bullshit. Dan Antonio he was an assistant for 5 minutes 15 years ago, but one thing they're not talking about is Dan Antonio knows his system because he was the assistant coach. So he knows how to beat Alabama because he was the assistant. He knows how Saban thinks. Nobody's giving that credit. He beat Ohio State in Ohio. The number one team, the real number one team, Ohio State, not Clemson. The real number one, he beat. Take Michigan State. Let me give you a score. I don't know what to give you. 27-17 Michigan State. How about that? Maybe more. Maybe they get in the 30s. Michigan State wins straight out. Next game, Oklahoma-Clemson. Oklahoma laying 3.5 over under 65. Let's break this down. Oklahoma lost to Texas. Really? Texas? They have a weak win against Baylor because Baylor's quarterback was out, and the kid who played, it was his first game ever starting. He was during the headlights. Against TCU, Boykin was out. They won by 1 against the backup. Against Oak State, Mason Rudolph was out or got injured early in the game. So they beat 3 backup quarterbacks and lost to Texas. And I don't see, okay, they score a lot. Give them that. I'm not sure Baylor, TCU's got a great defense, but everybody was injured. And I think they won the game 30-29 there. So TCU came back and almost won it. How good is Oklahoma? We all know Bob Swoops does this. It's a big game. Why are they favored? I have no idea. The most impressive thing about Clemson is they beat Florida State, who's got superior athletes, and they didn't have a quarterback. Again, these teams lose because they don't have quarterbacks. I don't get why it's so hard to get a quarterback when Baylor's got 3 of them and TCU's got a couple, and all these teams have all these quarterbacks. Memphis gets Paxton Lynch, and Western Kentucky's got 30, and you look at Florida State and they can't get a quarterback. It's unbelievable. So basically, Clemson beats Florida State, whose defense is better than Oklahoma's. There's no question. I think Clemson's got a very good offense, will score a lot in the game. I think Oklahoma scores a lot in the game. I don't trust Oklahoma's defense. Clemson, their quarterback, they just suspended a receiver, a kicker, and tight end for steroid use. I don't think that's a big deal. Apparently they got some injured guys back. And usually teams that do that end up winning because, the teams get closer. But I look at it, okay, it's a minor thing, but as long as the quarterback's there. It's like I say with New England, as long as Tom Brady and Gronk are there, yeah, they miss Amendola, but as long as Brady and Gronk are there, they're okay. Well, as long as the quarterback Watson's there, he's got receivers, they got talent, they got a very good coach who knows how to win versus a choke coach in Oklahoma who doesn't know how to win. Again, the games he won were against backup quarterbacks, and he lost to Texas. TCU beat Texas like 50-0. Baylor normally would pound Texas if they had the quarterback. None of these teams have a problem with Texas, and Oklahoma loses to them. And doesn't lose, they get killed. They couldn't stop a running quarterback, really. Guess what? Clemson's got a running quarterback. Watson can throw and run. I don't see any reason this game doesn't go over. Oklahoma, they'll let up points, and they'll score points. I see this game going in the 40s for both teams. Over under 65, so that means 59. I like the dog in this game because I can't say Oklahoma is dominant over Clemson. Clemson beat Florida State. That's the key to this matchup. Beating North Carolina just shows they scored a lot and they gave up a lot, which makes the over very appealing because Oklahoma will score on them, but Clemson can score too. They did beat Notre Dame, but it was a rainy night, 22-20. So It gives them that, we won a close game against Notre Dame. We beat Florida State. No way is Clemson the number one team. That's a joke. The fact they're undefeated is meaningless because they haven't really played anybody. Notre Dame's good, but not in Ohio State and Michigan State caliber. I think Ohio State and Michigan State are the true 1 and 2s. I think Ohio State's a 2. I think Michigan State's 1 or 2. Well, I think they're 1 because they beat Ohio State. Ohio State's 2. Ohio State would run the table on any of these teams, except for Michigan State. You saw them blow out Alabama last year. So in my mind, with a third-string quarterback, by the way. So in my mind, why is Oklahoma favored? I don't think they should be in there. I don't think they're better than Baylor or TCU if they were healthy. If Baylor's healthy, they beat Oklahoma. If TCU's healthy, they beat them. So I look at Oklahoma kind of in there, kind of on default. These teams got they got lucky when they played these teams, but when they played Texas, they got killed, and nobody wants to talk about it. That didn't happen. Let's put them in there, and then they make them favorite over Clemson. I don't get that at all. As we know, Oklahoma in any type of playoff game, especially as the favorite, chokes. Clemson should win the game. I like Clemson in the 9.5. I like this game to go over. This should be a very high-scoring game. They won't be able to shut down Clemson's offense. That's why I'm attracted to the points, but I'm also attracted to the over. And I bet the game both ways. Michigan State, I didn't want to mess with the... it's probably an under game, but I didn't want to mess with it. Over under 47. Michigan State, you just play Michigan State. And that's the beauty of my four method of looking at it. Do I want Alabama minus 3.5? I don't even think they're going to win the game. State 15.5, gold. Over 41. It's two defensive teams. They'll probably get some scoring. Under 53. Well, it doesn't really fit. Probably an under is the best way. But I think the best way to play Michigan State is take Michigan State in the 15.5. Here, you can't play Oklahoma because Clemson's the better team. You take Clemson at 9.5, then you look at over-under at 66, and you go, do I want to go under 72? No way. These two very good offensive teams should score a lot, so that means over 60, which is both teams just getting to 30, and I think this is a 40-point game for both teams. This should be wide open. There'll probably be a little nerves at first, but I don't see a problem where they just start scoring. So I would think over 60 is prudent also, but you can take it either way. Clemson 9.5 or over 60. So that's really the playoff look. Normally in the playoffs, you take the dogs, unless you see this far superior team. And I think the best team in the playoff is Michigan State. That's my view of it. They got strong defense and a strong quarterback and a strong coach. It's got a better defense than Clemson and Oklahoma. Alabama's defense is equal, but they don't have a quarterback. So when you look at the basics, the coach, the quarterback, the defense, Michigan State's got all three, and nobody else does. Clemson's defense can't hang with Michigan State's. Oklahoma, they're giving up 29 to Baylor, TCU's second-string quarterback who's never played before and should have lost that game. They gave up, I don't remember the score of the Oak State game, but Rudolph gets hurt. They're back up. He plays a lot, but they still scored on him. Again, I see it as a high-scoring game. But Michigan State's got the three. Alabama doesn't have the quarterback. Oklahoma doesn't have the defense. And really doesn't have the coach. And Clemson, I like the coach and the quarterback, but their defense is not up to Michigan State. So when you look at it, taking all the emotion out of it. Who's got the best coach, quarterback, and defense? Michigan State. Take Michigan State and 8-1 odds to win it all. That is my point. Take the dogs in the game. Go over with Clemson. And I gave you a bunch of games in the other video to go with. Like I said, if you ever want to buy a lock for the $100, this is the lock to buy. Both spreads in this lock are wrong, and wrong by a mile. So that's my point. Just this is the week to do it. You know, if you're ever going to do it. So anyway, good luck. Happy New Year. Happy holidays. I hope you had a good Christmas. Hope you won a lot of money. So far, this is it here coming up. Really strong lock. I have a lot going on Sunday. Some of the games are extremely difficult because you don't know who's playing. Like, for example, Washington, Dallas. I don't know if Washington, are they sitting their players down? If they're not, they're a great bet because they're getting points from Dallas. Arizona, I assume, is playing because they're making at the same time as Carolina. New England, obviously, they're playing. The Jets are playing, but I bet Buffalo plays. Pittsburgh, are they going to choke again? Kansas City, they're probably going to choke again. Oakland could easily beat them. So, until you really know who's playing and who's sitting, is Seattle going to start their backup quarterback? I mean, we don't know all this. Anyway, on to the playoff. Enjoy it. It's on tomorrow, I think. I'm going to get my bearings. Yes, tomorrow's the 31st. So enjoy the game. Take the dogs. Take the over in the Oklahoma game, Clemson, and bet MSU to win it all. All right, everybody. www.teaserking.com. Good luck to you, and happy holidays. Thank you very much.